Okay, where do you want me to start? You said from the beginning, so I'll start from the beginning. We got to Ocracoke on Thursday the 6th. We took the ferry from Hatteras. The rental was a place called Tidemark Cottage, listed on Airbnb, owned by a woman in Raleigh named Gail Schenk. 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, kitchen, living room, screen porch. Old house, built in the 40s, I think the listing said, renovated in 2011. Wood siding, raised foundation, about a block and a half from the beach on the sound side. Nothing special, cute place. Arden picked it because of the porch. We arrived around 4 in the afternoon. The key was in a lockbox on the front post. The house was clean, cold. Nobody had been in it for at least a week by the smell, that closed house smell, a little musty, a little salt. I turned on the heat. Arden opened windows to air it out. We unpacked. We went to the Thai place on the Harbor Road for dinner. We came back, we watched something on my laptop, we went to bed. Normal first night. Nothing to report, Friday was fine. We walked the beach. We had lunch at that sandwich shop by the ferry dock. We drove around the village. It was cold. Low 50s, overcast, but not bad. We knew the storm was coming. The forecast had been tracking it all week. We had planned for it. We'd brought food, candles, a deck of cards, a couple of books. Arden had downloaded some movies. The idea was, 2 days of being cozy inside during a storm. We were looking forward to it. The ferry shut down Friday evening. I got the alert on my phone around 6. The bridge, well, there's no bridge to Ocracoke. Break time E5s. It's the ferry or nothing. The ferry service posted that they were suspending operations as of 8 p.m. due to the storm and would resume when conditions allowed. Route 12 on Hatteras was already flooding in the low spots. We were on the island for the duration. The storm hit around 10 Friday night. Wind picked up first. You could hear it come across the sound, the way it builds from a hum to a roar over about 20 minutes. Then the rain. The rain on that house sounded like gravel on a tin lid. The power went out at 10:40. I had the candles ready. We lit them. We sat on the couch in the living room and listened to the storm, and it was honestly beautiful. Arden was leaning against me. The candles were throwing those long shadows on the walls. Break time equal 5s. The wind was doing that thing, where it finds the corners of the house and makes different notes. A low one on the north side, a higher one on the porch. It was nice. We went to bed around midnight. The power was still out. We slept fine. The storm was loud but steady. The kind of noise that puts you to sleep once you stop listening to it as information and start hearing it as texture. Saturday morning. The storm was still going. The power was still out. I made coffee on the camp stove we'd brought. I'm the kind of person who brings a camp stove, deputy. I plan for things. And Arden and I sat in the kitchen and drank coffee and looked out the window at the rain. The yard was flooding. There was about 3 inches of standing water across the lawn and more coming. The sound was choppy, whitecaps visible from the kitchen window. Break time seeing 05s, the trees, live oaks, a couple of cedars, were bending hard in the wind. Saturday morning is when Arden first said something. She had gone to the bathroom. I was in the kitchen washing the coffee mugs. She was in the bathroom for maybe 5 minutes. She came back into the kitchen and she said, "Ren, does the bathroom look right to you?" I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "I don't know. It felt bigger." I said, "Bigger how?" She said, "Like, longer. Like the wall behind the toilet was farther away than it was yesterday." I said, "Arden, it's a tiny bathroom. It hasn't changed." She said, "I know. I know it hasn't changed. I'm saying it felt different." I want to be clear with you, deputy, about how I heard this. I heard it as Arden being slightly anxious about the storm and expressing that anxiety through spatial unease. Break time .05s, this is something she does. And I'm not saying this to diminish her, I love her, she knows I love her. She's a person who processes stress through her body and through her environment. When she's anxious, rooms feel smaller or larger. When she's overwhelmed, she'll say the walls are closing in, or the ceiling feels low, or the air is thick. It's a way she has of describing internal states using external language. I have known this about her for 4 years. I responded the way I always respond, which is to take her seriously and also to gently reality check. I went to the bathroom. I looked at the bathroom. The bathroom was a small bathroom in a rental cottage on Ocracoke Island. Toilet, pedestal sink, tub with a shower curtain, a window above the tub that looked out at the side yard. Break time E5s, the wall behind the toilet was where it had always been, about 5 feet from the door. I have a good spatial sense. I build sets for a living. I'm a set carpenter for a regional theater company in Raleigh. I measure rooms. I know what 5 feet looks like. I came back and told Arden it looked normal to me. She said okay. She dropped it. We played cards for a couple hours. The storm continued. Around noon on Saturday, Arden went to the back bedroom, the smaller one, the one we weren't sleeping in. to get a sweater from her suitcase. She was in there for maybe 2 minutes. She came back without the sweater. She said, "Ren, come look at this." I went to the back bedroom. I looked at it. It was the back bedroom. Twin bed, a dresser, a closet with a sliding door, a window facing east toward the sound. Arden's suitcase was on the bed. "Break time equal fives," I said. "What am I looking at?" She said, "The window." I looked at the window. The window showed the backyard, the flooded lawn, the live oak, the fence, and beyond the fence the choppy gray water of the sound. I said, "What about it?" She said, "That's not what it showed when I was in here." I said, "What did it show?" She said, "It showed the front, the road, the front of the house, like the window was on the wrong wall." Deputy, I want to be honest with you about what I said next, because Arden is going to tell you what I said next when she comes back in the room, and she's going to be right that I said it, and right that it was dismissive. I said, "Arden, you got turned around. The house is small, and the rooms are laid out weird. With the storm, it's dark, and you probably just." She said, "Ren, I know which direction the sound is. Break time 05s. I can hear the sound. The sound is behind the house. The window was showing the front." I said, okay, I'm sorry. But I'm looking at the window right now, and it's showing the backyard. "So maybe what happened is," she said, "you're in the room." I said, "What?" She said, "You're in the room now. It's showing the backyard because you're in the room. When I was alone in the room, it was showing the front." This is the first time she said it that way, when I was alone. I want to flag that for you because I know you have her statement, and I know she told you it started with the bathroom. And I want to be accurate about when she first articulated the pattern. It was Saturday around noon, in the doorway of the back bedroom. She said the room was different when she was alone in it. I did not take this seriously. I want to be honest about that.
Break time .05.
I did not take it seriously because I have known Arden for 4 years and I know her anxiety patterns. And this was, in my assessment at the time, a new expression of an existing pattern. Storms are stressful. Power outages are disorienting. Old houses are strange. Being stuck on an island is isolating. I had a framework for what was happening, and the framework was Arden is stressed, and her stress is expressing itself spatially, and the best thing I can do is stay calm and stay close to her, and not feed the anxiety by treating it as real. I'm telling you this because I want you to understand that my response was not cruelty. It was care. It was wrong care, apparently, but it was care. We spent the rest of Saturday afternoon in the living room together. Break time 05s. The storm was at its worst between about 2 and 6 p.m. The wind was steady at what I'd guess was 50-60 miles an hour, with gusts that shook the whole house. The rain was horizontal. I could hear things hitting the roof, branches, shingles from neighboring houses, debris. We played cards, we read, we ate sandwiches for dinner. The power came back briefly around 5 and then went out again. Arden did not go into any room alone for the rest of the afternoon. I noticed this. I did not comment on it. Saturday night. We went to bed around 10. We were in the front bedroom, the larger one, the one with the queen bed. The storm was still going, but had eased slightly. The wind was lower. The rain was still heavy. Arden fell asleep before me. I lay awake for a while listening to the house. The house made sounds, creaks, pops, break time .5s, the kind of settling sounds old houses make in wind. I fell asleep around 11. I woke up at some point. I checked my phone. It was 2:17 a.m. because Arden was not in bed. Her side was empty. The sheets were cold. She had been gone for a while. I got up. I went to the kitchen. She wasn't there. I went to the living room. She wasn't there. I went to the back bedroom. She wasn't there. The bathroom door was closed. I knocked. I said, "Arden?" She said, "Don't come in." I said, "Are you okay?" She said, "Don't come in, Ren." "Not yet. Just wait." I stood outside the bathroom door. I waited. I could hear the storm. I could hear through the door what I thought was Arden breathing, fast, shallow breathing, the kind she does during a panic attack. I said, "Arden, I'm going to open the door." She said, "Ren, break time 05s. If you open the door, it will stop, and you won't see it, and you'll tell me I'm imagining it, and I need you to not do that right now. I need you to wait." I waited. I stood in the hallway in the dark. I had a flashlight, one of those small LED ones, and I waited. About 3 minutes. Then Arden opened the door. She was standing in the bathroom. She was pale. She was holding her phone. She was shaking. Not dramatically, but a fine tremor in her hands and her jaw. She said, "I took a picture." She showed me her phone. The picture was dark, phone flash in a small room, and it showed the bathroom, the toilet, the sink, the tub, and behind the toilet, the wall. The wall behind the toilet in the photograph was approximately 15 feet from the camera. The bathroom is 5 feet deep. I have measured it since. I measured it for you, break time deputy, when you asked me to this morning. 5 feet from the door to the back wall. In Arden's photograph, taken at 2-something a.m. during the storm. The wall was 3 times as far away as it should have been. I looked at the photograph. I looked at the bathroom. I stepped into the bathroom. The wall was where it had always been, 5 feet from the door. I put my hand on it. Drywall. Solid. 5 feet. I looked at Arden's photograph again. I want to tell you what I said, Deputy, because I know it's important. I said, the lens distortion on phone cameras can make small rooms look. Arden took the phone from my hand. She turned and walked to the kitchen. She sat at the kitchen table. She did not speak to me for the rest of the night. I sat at the table with her. I made tea on the camp stove. I put a mug in front of her. She drank it. We sat there until dawn. At dawn on Sunday, the storm was still going but weaker. Steady rain, wind maybe 30 miles an hour. The flooding was worse. The yard had about 6 inches of standing water. The road out front was flooded too. The power was still out. Arden spoke to me around 7. She said, Ren, I want you to do something. I want you to go outside and stand in the yard. I'm going to go into the back bedroom alone. I'm going to take pictures of the window. Then I'm going to call you, and you're going to come inside and look at the window and take your own pictures, and we're going to compare them. I said, okay. I put on my rain jacket and my boots, and I went outside and stood in the flooded yard in the rain like an idiot. Break time. But I did it because she asked me to, and because I genuinely thought, that the comparison would show her that the pictures were the same, and that the lens distortion and the dark and the stress were causing her to perceive differences that weren't there. I stood in the yard for about 5 minutes. Then Arden called me from the front porch. She opened the front door and called my name. I went inside. I went to the back bedroom. I took pictures of the window with my phone. We sat at the kitchen table and compared. Her pictures showed the window of the back bedroom. Through the window, her pictures showed the front of the house, the road, the flooded ditch, the neighbor's mailbox. The view from the front of the house, visible through a window on the back wall. My pictures showed the window of the back bedroom. Break time .05s through the window, my pictures showed the backyard, the live oak, the fence, the sound. Deputy, I want to tell you what I did with this information. I want to tell you honestly because Arden is going to come back in here and tell you her version, and her version is going to include what I did, and I want you to hear it from me first. I said, you took these in a different room. Arden said, Ren. I said, you went into the front bedroom by mistake. The lighting is confusing. The layouts are similar. You went into the front bedroom and took pictures of the front-facing window, and you thought you were in the back bedroom. Arden said, the front bedroom has a queen bed. The back bedroom has a twin. My suitcase is on the twin bed. It's in the picture, Ren. Look at the picture. I looked. Break time .05s. Her suitcase was visible on the twin bed in the background of the photograph. The twin bed. The back bedroom. She had been in the back bedroom. The window in the back bedroom had shown her the front of the house. I said, and I am telling you this because it is what I said and because I know how it sounds, I said, there's something wrong with your phone's camera. Arden stood up from the table. She went to the living room. She sat on the couch. She did not speak to me for the next 4 hours. Deputy, I want to say something before I continue. I want to say it because I think it's relevant to why she called 911, and I think it's relevant to why you're here. I was not trying to gaslight her. I know that word gets used, and I know how this looks. Break time, .05s. A woman tells her boyfriend that the rooms are changing, and the boyfriend keeps telling her she's wrong. I understand how that looks from outside. I want you to know that from inside my head, from inside my experience of those 3 days, I was doing what I have always done when Arden is anxious. I was holding the rational line. I was being the person in the relationship who says, I know it feels that way, but here is what is actually happening, and who is, in the normal course of a relationship with a person who has anxiety, correct. I was correct for 4 years. I was correct about the traffic that was not actually dangerous. I was correct about the medical symptoms that were not actually symptoms. I was correct about the work conflict that was not actually a conflict. I have a track record of being correct. Break time .05s, and the track record is what I was relying on. The track record was my evidence. The track record was not applicable here. I understand that now, I think. Sunday afternoon, the storm was easing. The rain slowed to a drizzle by 2. The wind dropped. The sky stayed gray. The flooding was still bad. Route 12 was impassable according to the island's emergency text system, and the ferry was still shut down. We were stuck at least another night. Arden stayed in the living room. I stayed in the kitchen. We were in different rooms. We were both alone. I was sitting at the kitchen table. I was reading. It was about 3 in the afternoon. The light in the kitchen was gray, and even The big window over the sink faced north and the light came through flat and diffused. Break time 05s. I want to describe this carefully because you asked me to describe any experience of my own that might be relevant. And I told you this morning that I didn't have any, and I want to amend that. I was sitting at the kitchen table reading. The kitchen had a window over the sink and a smaller window on the east wall. The smaller window faced the side yard, a narrow strip of grass between the house and the neighbor's fence. About 8 feet wide, at some point, I don't know exactly when. I was reading, I became aware that the light in the kitchen had changed. It was the same gray, the same flat diffusion, but the quality of it was different, more even. As if the window had gotten larger, or the wall had moved back, or the source of the light was farther away than the side yard. I looked up. Break mu. I looked at the window on the east wall. The window showed the side yard, the grass, the fence, the neighbor's house beyond. I looked at it for a few seconds. Everything was where it should be. I went back to reading, and I'm going to tell you this. Deputy, because I promised Arden this morning that I would tell you everything, and I have not told her this yet, and she is going to hear it when she comes back in. The window was farther away from me than it had been when I sat down. The east wall of the kitchen is about 12 feet from the table. I know this because I sat at the table and I measured the distance with my eyes. I'm a set carpenter. I measure rooms for a living. I can tell you the distance to a wall within 6 inches from across a room. When I sat down at the table, the east wall was 12 feet away. When I looked up, the east wall was not 12 feet away. It was maybe 15, maybe 16. The window was the same size, but it was farther away, and the wall around it was broader. And the room had, I don't know how to say this without sounding like Arden, the room had grown. I looked at it. I looked at it for a long time, maybe a minute. The room was bigger than it had been. I was alone in it. The wall was farther than 12 feet. I did not get up. I did not measure. I did not take a picture. I went back to reading. Deputy, I went back to reading. Break 05s. The wall was 16 feet away and I was alone in the kitchen. And I went back to reading my book because the alternative was to stand up and walk to the wall and confirms it was 16 feet away, and then I would be a person who had confirmed that the room had grown, and I would have to go into the living room and tell Arden that the room had grown, and I would have to say to her, you were right. And if I said you were right, then the thing that was happening in this house was real, and if it was real, then we were stuck on an island in a house that changed its dimensions when you were alone in it, and I did not want that to be real. So I read my book, and at some point, I don't know when I was reading, I heard Arden come into the kitchen from the living room. She walked to the counter. She opened a cabinet. She got a glass. Break time 05s. She filled it at the sink. I heard her drinking. I did not look up. But I could feel the way you feel a change in air pressure, the way you feel a room go from empty to occupied. I could feel the wall return. Arden left the kitchen. I looked up. The east wall was 12 feet away. I have not until this moment in this conversation with you told anyone this. I did not tell Arden. I did not tell her on Sunday. I did not tell her Sunday night. I did not tell her Monday. I did not tell her when she was crying in the living room at 2 a.m. on Monday morning, which is when she called 911. She called 911 because she had gone to the bathroom again, Sunday night, around 1 a.m., and the bathroom had extended so far that she could not see the back wall. She said this in her 911 call, and I know you have the recording. Break time 05s. She said the wall behind the toilet was gone and there was just, the room kept going. She said it was dark back there and she could hear water, not the storm, different water, and she could feel air moving from the direction the wall should have been. Cold air, like outside air, but from inside the house. She said she was standing in the doorway of the bathroom and she was not going in and she was not leaving, and she was calling 911 because her boyfriend would not believe her and she needed someone to come. The dispatcher told her they could not send anyone during the storm. The dispatcher told her to stay calm and stay with her partner. The dispatcher told her to call back if there was an immediate threat to her safety. Arden said that she was in a house that was doing things, and the dispatcher said, ma'am, break time .05s, is anyone in the house threatening you? And Arden said, no, the house. And the dispatcher said, ma'am, I'm going to need you to clarify whether there is a person threatening you. And Arden said, no, not a person. And the dispatcher said, ma'am, if there is no immediate threat from a person we cannot dispatch during active storm conditions, and I recommend you stay indoors with your partner. And Arden hung up. She hung up and I came out of the bedroom. I had heard her talking, and she was standing in the hallway outside the bathroom. The bathroom door was open. The bathroom was 5 feet deep. The toilet was where it was. The wall was where it was. Arden looked at me. She looked at the bathroom. She looked back at me. She said, "You're here now." I said, "Yes." She said, "So it stopped." I said, "Arden." She said, "It stops when you're here." Break time 05s. It always stops when you're here. That's why you never see it. That's why you never believe me. The house does it when I'm alone, and it stops when you come in. Ren, look at me. The house knows when I'm alone. I want to tell you, Deputy, that this moment in the hallway at 1 something in the morning on Monday, that I should have told her about the kitchen. I should have said, "Arden, I know. I saw it too. The kitchen grew on Sunday afternoon when you were in the living room and I was alone. I saw it, and I didn't tell you, and I'm sorry. I should have said that." I did not say that. I said, "Let's go sit in the living room together. Both of us. We'll stay together. We'll stay in one room until morning." We sat on the couch together until morning. Neither of us slept. We did not talk. The storm ended around 4 a.m. Break time 5s. The silence after the wind stopped was enormous, like the house had been holding its breath and finally exhaled. Monday morning was clear, cold, windy, bright. The flooding was receding. The emergency text said Route 12 was passable to four-wheel drive vehicles only, and the ferry would resume at noon. Arden did not enter any room alone on Monday. She went to the bathroom with the door open while I stood in the hallway. She got dressed in the bedroom while I sat on the bed. She did not leave my sight. We packed, we left the cottage at 11. We drove to the ferry. We took the noon ferry to Hatteras. We drove to the mainland. We drove to Raleigh. Arden did not speak for the entire drive. When we got home, break time .05s, Arden called her sister and told her everything, and her sister called the Dare County Sheriff's Office and filed a report on Arden's behalf, which is, I understand why you are here. I want to say one more thing, and then I'll stop, and you can ask your questions. I measured the bathroom this morning when you asked me to, at the cottage. You drove us back to Ocracoke on the ferry, and we came back to the cottage, and you asked me to measure the rooms. I measured the bathroom, 5 feet from door to back wall. I measured the back bedroom, 10 by 12. I measured the kitchen, 14 by 12. East wall to table, 12 feet. You asked Arden to measure the room separately after I had finished. I was outside on the porch when she measured. I did not see her measure. You took her measurements down. You have not shown me her measurements. Break. I want to tell you, Deputy, that I do not need to see her measurements. I know what her measurements say. Her measurements say the rooms are different, larger. Her measurements disagree with mine. And I want to tell you, and this is the last thing, that the 12 feet I measured this morning from the kitchen table to the east wall, the 12 feet, I measured it while you were standing in the room with me. You were right there. You were leaning against the counter. I don't know what the kitchen measures when no one else is in it with me. I don't know because I have never measured it while alone. I have, since Sunday afternoon, been very careful not to be alone in any room of this house. I have not told Arden that. I have not told Arden that I have been arranging since Sunday to never be alone. Break time .05s. I have been following her from room to room. I have been standing in doorways. I have been keeping her in my sight line. She thinks I am doing this because I am finally taking her seriously. She thinks I am being protective. I am not being protective. I am making sure that there is always someone in the room with me, so that the room stays the size it is supposed to be, so that the walls stay where they are, so that the window shows what the window is supposed to show. I am not protecting her. She doesn't need protecting. She saw the truth 3 days ago, and I told her she was wrong. I am protecting myself from being alone in a room. That's my statement, Deputy. I don't have anything else. Arden's voice from the doorway. Ren. Break time 5s. Tell him about the kitchen. Pause, approximately 14 seconds. Arden. Ren Calloway. I don't know what you're talking about, Arden Park. You do. I came in for a glass of water on Sunday. You were reading. The room was wrong. I could see it from the doorway before I crossed in. It was wrong, and then I walked in and it went back. I stood at the sink and I watched your face and you didn't look up. You knew. You were sitting in it and you knew and you didn't look up. Tell him about the kitchen. Pause, 9 seconds. Ren Calloway. Deputy, could we take a break? Could I have a minute, Deputy Reeves? Take whatever time you need, Mr. Calloway. The recorder stays on. Whenever you're ready. Pause. The sound of a chair being pushed back. Footsteps. A door opening. Wind from outside. Break time 05s. The door does not close. Arden Park. Quieter to Deputy Reeves. He's not going to come back in alone. Watch. He'll stand on the porch until one of us goes out there. Pause, 41 seconds. Deputy Reeves, Miss Park. The measurements you gave me for the kitchen, when you were alone in it, Arden Park, 23 feet to the east wall, give or take. Deputy Reeves, Mr. Calloway measured 12. Arden Park, Mr. Calloway measured 12 because you were standing next to him. Deputy Reeves, Mrs. Park, I'm going to go out to the porch and bring Mr. Calloway back inside. When I do, you and I will both be in the room with him. I want to ask you, when I go out to the porch, you'll be alone in the kitchen. Is that all right with you? Arden Park? It's fine, I'm used to it. Deputy Reeves stands, his chair moves. Break time 05s, his footsteps cross the kitchen toward the front door. Arden Park, alone in the kitchen, to the recorder. It's already started. The wall is moving. Deputy, if you're listening to this later, the tape measure is on the counter. I'm going to walk to the east wall. I'm going to measure as I go. Footsteps. Slow, measured. Arden counting under her breath. Arden Park, 12, 15, 18, 20, 22. It's still going. The window is the same size, but it's farther away. The light is the same. The floor is the same. There's just more of it. The front door opens. Deputy Reeves's voice, and behind it, Wren Calloway's. Arden Park, quickly 26 feet. It was 26 feet. Footsteps entering the kitchen. Arden Park, and now it's 12 again. Gentlemen. Break time, .05s. Welcome back. Silence. 7 seconds. Deputy Reeves. I'm going to note for the record that I observed nothing unusual about the kitchen upon re-entering. Miss Park was standing approximately 12 feet from the east wall, near the window, holding the tape measure. Arden Park, of course you didn't. You're in the room. Deputy Reeves, Mr. Calloway, are you ready to resume? Deputy Reeves, Mr. Calloway, Wren Calloway. She was 26 feet from the table when you opened the door. I saw her through the doorway. Before I stepped in, she was far away. She was too far away for this room. Pause, Wren Calloway. I saw it. From the porch. Through the front door and down the hall and through the kitchen doorway. Arden was standing at the far wall, and the far wall was not where it is now. Arden Park. Break time 05s quietly. I know. Wren Calloway. I stepped inside and at Arden Park. I know, Wren. Silence 22 seconds. Deputy Reeves, I'm going to recommend that both of you leave this property today. I'm going to note in my report that the complainant and her partner both describe spatial anomalies in the rental cottage and that these descriptions are consistent between the two parties. I'm going to recommend that the property owner be notified and that the cottage be taken off the rental market pending an inspection. I don't know what kind of inspection. I'm going to be honest with both of you. I don't know what kind of inspector you call for this. Arden Park. There isn't one. Deputy Reeves, I'm going to leave the recorder running while I make a call to my office. Please remain in the room. Both of you. Break time 05s. Together. Footsteps. Deputy Reeves moves to the porch. The front door stays open. Arden and Wren alone in the kitchen. Together. Wren Calloway very quietly. Arden, I'm sorry. I saw the kitchen on Sunday and I didn't tell you. Arden Park. I know. Wren Calloway, how did you know? Arden Park, because you haven't left me alone in a room since Sunday. You've been following me everywhere. You've been standing in doorways. You've been keeping me in your line of sight. You thought you were hiding it. Wren Calloway, I was trying to Arden Park. You were trying to keep the room small, I understand. But Wren, the rooms don't stay small. They just wait. Pause. Arden Park, you're going to have to be alone eventually. In a bathroom. In a hallway. At 3 in the morning when I'm asleep. You can't follow me forever. Break time equals .05s, and when you're alone, you'll see it. You'll see what I've been seeing. And it won't be 5 extra feet. It won't be 26. It'll be whatever comes after that. Because it's been growing, Wren. Every time I'm alone in a room, it goes a little farther. The first time was a couple extra feet. Last night, the bathroom didn't have a back wall. Wren Calloway, what's back there? Arden Park, I don't know. I haven't walked into it. I've been standing in doorways, same as you. Wren Calloway, what if we leave? What if we drive home? What if we never come back? Arden Park. Wren, we've been home for 2 days. I measured the bathroom up at our apartment yesterday morning while you were at work. Our bathroom. In Raleigh. Silence. Arden Park, 9 feet. Our bathroom is 4 feet deep. It measured 9. Wren Calloway doesn't speak. Arden Park. It's not the house. The recorder continues. The wind from the open door. The sound of Deputy Reeves on his phone on the porch. His voice low and indistinct. The kitchen is 12 feet to the east wall. Both of them are in it. End of recording. File note, Dare County Sheriff's Office, Incident Report 2025-0311-0847. Filed by Deputy T. Reeves, March 11, 2025. Audio recording, duration 1:14:38. Property inspection conducted March 12, 2025. All room dimensions measured within normal tolerances. Property owner Gail Schenk notified. No further action recommended at this time. Recording retained per standard evidence protocol.